Hey there, welcome to Storytime with Ellie podcast, and I am your host, Ellie. Today, we will be speaking with a young entrepreneur, successful. Let's just welcome, we'll cut through all the chase, Josh Forti. Welcome,
Ellie,
Josh.
thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm so happy you're here. I can't wait to hear your story. I can't wait for you to educate me and my listeners on what you have to say in your journey and how you got to where you are today. You're a young man. You're not like, some of us older
I'm
folks.
30 years old or 30 years young. Yeah.
30. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. I just
Well,
turned
that's
30.
young. That's young.
Yeah. Oh, very young. Very, very young.
Oh,
Yeah.
but you're successful and you're smart.
I don't know. People
Yes,
say
you
that.
are.
I like to think that I'm pretty dumb. I remind myself that I'm pretty dumb pretty often because that allows me, anytime that I think that I'm smart, then I overcomplicate things. And then if I overcomplicate things, then it doesn't go well. But if I'm just like, Josh, you're dumb, remember that, then I make things super simple, and then it's easier to win.
I know what you're saying, but sometimes, yeah, I get it. I get it. In other words, you don't want to be too, like I'm all that. And you're not.
Yeah.
You're down to earth. I looked a little bit, you're down to earth. But before we get into your past, let's
Yeah.
let's talk about what we're doing today. How's
Yeah.
that?
I
What's
love
Josh
it. It sounds
doing
great.
today? Yeah, let's hear it about your journey and what you're doing today. Let's do that.
Oh, what I'm doing starting. Oh, okay, gotcha. I thought
Yeah,
you.
let's
Yeah.
go from like
So,
right now,
man,
and
let's
then we're
see.
gonna go back.
So today I run I run a podcast called the Golden Mic,
Yeah,
hence the golden microphone.
I like that.
And I have a sales training company, and so we do a lot of uh sales training specifically for people in the online space that sell non-physical products. So that's services, info, education, things of that nature. A lot of service providers, though. A lot of people that do services. I'm a big fan of people that sell services because I think that I love the coaching space. I love it.
I
I'm a
was gonna
product of
ask
the
you.
coaching industry. It is phenomenal. That said, I think a lot of people are not good coaches, not because they can't be good coaches, but because they have not actually done the service and understand their craft well enough to be coaches, right? So I'm a very big fan of service providers and people that actually do the work to provide a good service. So we teach people how to sell their services for top dollar, lots of money. And by lots of money, I mean, people come to us selling their stuff for $500, and we show them how to sell it for 15,000 or
Oh
30,000,
wow,
right?
I'm gonna.
Like a lot more, by using principle based, psychology based sales principles and strategies and things like that. So that's what we do now. We have our whole framework or our whole process is called the Golden Mike Method. And that's everything is revolved around that one method, the Golden Mike Method. There, we run the podcast called the Golden Mike. And yeah, I'm a dad. I just had my first
Yeah,
first
congratulations on that
daughter.
one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So cute, so adorable. Best thing ever. She's 5 months old.
Oh,
Very active in my church, married to my
nice.
beautiful, amazing wife. She's amazing, amazing, amazing. And we live, yeah, right outside of Denver. But yeah, really just laser focused right now on growing the business and the one thing with the Golden Mike and the podcast and the sales program there. And so that's a little bit what we're going on today. And
Great.
I do a lot of podcast interviews because I
Nice.
love teaching and I love learning.
Love it. Love your energy. Oh my gosh, love it. But when you say product, Josh, what exactly product do you help people sell?
Yeah. So anything service based related, I would say we're
Coaching?
probably 70 to 80% services based, and then probably 20 to 30% info, education, coaching, things, consulting.
Coach. That's
And
a
by
big.
services, I mean anything that can be sold online. So anything that can be sold or fulfilled upon virtually. Now, a
Wow.
lot of our clients do go, fly to their clients or will, have their clients come to them. But think things like graphic design, website building, things like that. That they're doing on, that you can actually go through and do online. And we have a wide range of people. We have people that, help write stories. We have people that, ghost write books. We have people that build funnels. We have people that run Facebook ads. We have people that run, do all sorts of different things like cybersecurity. Just trying to think of, the list of all the clients that we're
My
working with. One
gosh,
guy does
wild.
financial planning. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
So make believe I do have coaching, but if I wanted to say, come to you and say, Josh, I need help,
Mm.
right? Is that how people reach out to you and they say, listen, I need help?
Yeah.
What's the first thing you would do for me? I want to know because I'm really taking notes.
What's the first thing I would do for you? If you became a
Yes.
client, you're like, okay, what's the first thing I would do? Yeah. So, I mean, really, I think the process starts, and I'll kind of give some context on this. I used to believe in, I grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere, right? So
We're
I
gonna
was
talk
born in
about that.
Wisconsin. At age 1, we moved to LA, lived in LA until 11. And then my parents were like, screw this. We're going to a farm in Indiana in the middle of nowhere. So I grew up homeschooled without much outside experience or whatever. And so when I got into entrepreneurship, I thought everyone was my customer and I just do all things for all people. And I had a really hard time selling things, right? And the reason that that was not that I could not physically help everyone, because technically I could have helped anyone that came to me, right? But
Right.
rather because when I would try to target or speak to everyone, I was not able to do the things, create the certainty, like follow the principles that were required in order to go and actually serve them and convince them or make them believe and understand that I could actually help them. Right. And so it's like, the man that chases 2 rabbits catches none. It's like the person that tried to go after everyone. Right. They're not going to get no one, not because they couldn't go and get each individual
You can't
rabbit.
focus. It's the
Right.
focus.
And
Yeah.
because they cannot communicate and articulate and speak directly to that person. Right. One of my favorite quotes by or maybe not one of my favorite quotes, but like a very powerful quote that I follow a lot. Right. By a guy named Alex Ramosi. He says, if you want people to think you are smart, teach them so that they understand. But if you want people to give you money, teach in a way that makes them feel understood. And so, like, I don't know if this is you, but like, if you're anything like me, you go and you're so passionate about something, you want to help people, you want to serve people, you've got this skill. And so you just go out there and it's like, you're just pouring your heart out to try to like teach them everything that you know, or like show them how you're going to help them. And you get done and you hear either that was amazing and I'm not going to buy, or that was good, but like, I just don't have the money, or, and you kind of get into this
Or they don't
point
understand you, or they don't really understand what you're trying to.
right.
We feel it. We feel it, right? But
Yeah.
they don't understand what we see. I
Right.
find with my vision sometimes, I try to explain it, that people think I'm weird because we see things sometimes that people don't see. Does that make sense?
Exactly. And that's because we see things as entrepreneurs, right? As people that
Yeah.
we're problem solvers. We're
Yeah.
people that we want to serve. We want to make the world better, right?
Happy.
That's who we
Yeah,
are, right?
totally.
So when we look at things through the lens of that, which is, how do I fix this? How do I make the world better? How do I solve the problem? And we're processing and trying to, but that's not how people receive information, right? That's not how people process. And so
Yes,
when we
I
talk
agree.
in that language, it's like this foreign language to them, right? And it's frustrating because it feels like, I reference the Bible a lot. There's a lot of wisdom. I believe in the Bible, and in the New Testament it talks about throwing your pearls before swine, right? It's like you have this super valuable information and it feels like everybody that you're putting it in front of, they don't value it, right? They don't take you seriously for, the work that you put in. And so when I sit down with people, right, first thing for me is I have to, like, before I give you advice, I want to make sure that like I'm actually the right person to give you advice. Right. I'm very, very open about the fact that like I don't know everything and we don't serve everyone. We are very, very good at helping the people that we help. Very good at it. But we help the people that we help. So the first thing I do is I go, okay, am I actually the right person to help you? Right. Which is like, is your goal in alignment with the goal that I know how to get with somebody? Does that make sense? You with me?
Yes.
Okay. For me, there's some qualifications to that. But broadly speaking, we help entrepreneurs in the online space, right, that sell services and information online, that want to optimize for freedom in their life, right? So I'm not going to teach you how to build a $100 million company. I don't know how. I've never done it. But I optimize for freedom in my life, meaning I want to get paid the most amount of money for my skills so that I have the most amount of free time to go and make myself better, spend time with my family, perfect my craft. And so I would rather work with a few people that pay me a lot of money so I can deliver them a really good result, rather than work with a lot of people that pay me a little bit of money, because then I can't ensure that I deliver a good result.
So
right?
It's quality over quantity.
Absolutely. And
That's
not that there's anything wrong with quality or quantity, right? But like the life that I want to live and the life that our clients want to live is very freedom based, is very time free heavy. And also with doing that without sacrificing, it's not like we're neglecting our business, right? We love our business. We love doing that, right? Like, that's my life. I love working, right? I also want to be in control of my time because I have a daughter and a wife and, church that I want to be a part of, right? So first is that. If we get past that and we sit down and we go, okay, this is awesome. And by the way, I think if anyone is out there that is struggling with, making money or selling things or trying to get clear on that, I would say
a lot of people doing that.
Right. And it's because, once again, in my experience and what we've seen coaching probably thousands of people now and in my own life, it's if we do not qualify our person, then we are creating mass chaos, right? Because everybody's at a different level. We don't know. You can't help everyone, right? You can't have a process for everyone. So That's first. Then after that, I go, okay, if you are the person and we align and I say, okay, you resonate with me, I resonate with you, we can help you, cool. Then I'm going to go and I'm always looking at principles, right? I'm going to start with principles because one of the things that I learned is principles never change. And in my early years of stuff, of business, I've been an entrepreneur for, gosh, probably 8 or 9 years, and sold tens of millions of dollars of stuff online, grown and managed 7 million followers on social media without running an ad. I mean, all organically. I mean, pretty crazy stuff. But early on, I was like, how do I get a quick win and do a tactic that's going to get me a fast result super quick? And it was like win, crash, because I wasn't building it on something that was solid, right? And so once, the wise man built his house upon the rock, the foolish man built his house upon the sand. I want to build it upon the rock. So when I'm sitting down with someone, the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look at it and figure out, okay, what is it? If my goal is to make you money, because that's what people come to me for, right? Like they don't come to me to feel good, right? You come to me because you want to learn how to get paid. Yes. Right. It's like, okay.
Go to a coach or a therapist for feel good.
Right. If you want, feel good, go to, right. Exactly. Right. So if that's the case, then I've got to go and say, okay, I got to look at the thing that we're actually going to do in exchange for money, the value that we're going to provide to the marketplace, which is your offer, right? And so the very first thing that we're sitting down to look at is what is the mechanism, the skill, the value that you're going to create and put out into the marketplace in exchange for money. And we've got to make sure that that's solid. And we have a whole, I'm happy to dive into the specifics of any of this, but like we have to start there because where I see a lot of people making the mistake of, and like we had a guy come to us and he was selling his stuff for $2,000 and they were stuck at their best month ever in business is they had made, there's two of them. They had made I think it was like $28,000. And they came in and sat down with me and 29 days later, they were selling their offer for $30,000 and had cash collected $117,000 in 29 days.
Yeah. Wow.
Because everyone else that they were going to, they were looking at things from the lens of, okay, we sell traffic or we sell ads or we sell funnels. And they were trying to fit in from the lens of like, here's why you need our funnel. And I'm like, look, that's great. You might need that.
Cutter. That's a cookie cutter thought.
But
kind of.
You see my point though?
Yeah, totally.
This is how most people are taught to sell. It's, I have something to sell. Let me try to sell it to you.
I got
it's like, but that's, it's not most people, most salespeople are not taught any different. Most entrepreneurs, there wasn't, you didn't go through entrepreneurship school where they were like, here's what you should do. And it's, for most of us, it's just like, we weren't taught any better. Right. But that's what most people try to do. And so I go and I say, wait a second, let's go back to the principle, which is if I want to make money, which I want to do, and I think that making money, I don't think money is good or bad. It just is. But I think that in an economic system, the capitalistic society, an economic system where money is how we measure value, right? Exactly. That if I'm going to make money, then I must provide value in exchange for that money, right? Like I give you value, you give me money. So if I want to make money, then the very first thing that I have to figure out from a principle level is I have to understand what is the value that I, or in this case, you, right? What are you going to provide the marketplace, offer the marketplace in exchange for dollars? And that is what we call the offer, right? And if we can look at the offer and we can say, okay, let's solidify that. Let's go through the steps of making sure that we're solid on that. Then we can move on to the next pieces and start to solve the problems that may be preventing you from selling it. But step one is we've got to understand, what is it that you're selling? Is it something that the marketplace actually needs? Yeah.
Amazing. It's amazing. And now this came natural to you, correct? You were not like, you didn't go to school, you weren't drilled. I think for what I'm picking up with you, because you're an extremely young man, and to have this knowledge, it's amazing for you to even be able to think the way you think and process. I'm trying to process it. You just had it came natural to you.
Yeah, it definitely did not. In no way, shape, or form. No, I'll tell you a quick story on this. No, so
we're gonna go back with that. That's one of my questions.
Huh?
Yeah, let's go back to how you.
Okay, because here's the deal. I was homeschooled, right? And I didn't know any different. It was awesome, right? I got into the real world and went out there and I got a sales job and door-to-door sales, selling business to business. And I went door-to-door for an entire summer, knocked on door after door after door. And the entire summer, I made exactly one sale. So when I say I sucked at sales, I sucked. I sucked at selling things. And then I got into entrepreneurship because the only person that's like, hey, I suck at this. Let me go even take on more responsibility.
Yeah.
Right. Let me be an entrepreneur.
That's
Then
right.
I got into that and I went and I said, okay, I'm going to go try to sell my services. I had no understanding of the difference between an offer and a product or value creation or something. I know nothing. My first sales coach that I hired told me that the key to selling things was to get on the phone with somebody and not let them off until they bought. Like, talk about the worst possible sale. I mean, like,
Yeah,
I would
I
sit on
can't.
calls with people for 3 or 4 hours
No.
and they would not buy. So this did not come natural to me. I
Well,
remember, I mean, like
or
literally
it
for
caught
months and
natural
months on
for you.
end. Huh?
What you achieved though at a young age, like it's almost though it's meant for you, like in a natural sense,
Mm,
in a little bit.
interesting.
Do you know
Well,
what I'm saying? Because how many people have done that? How many people sold things and didn't make it, but still didn't make where you are today? Come on, Josh, let's give you a little. I
okay, but
know a lot about you. You're
and
amazing.
and listen, I think that perhaps I think that there is certainly a mentality that I have,
Yeah.
which would be like, if you work really, really hard and you don't quit, that you will eventually have the success that you want to have. However, I think a lot of people work really, really hard. My dad works really, really hard, right? And he has his whole life, and he's not in the financial position that I'm in,
That's
right?
what I'm trying to say.
Right. So, but here's what changed, right? I remember in my late teenage years and early 20 years where I'm still in a normal job, or I'm hanging out around people, and I remember just looking around and being like, I don't understand people. Like, I don't understand how everyone can just go through life and act like it's normal to slave your life away for, you know, your whole life, only to hopefully maybe someday end up with enough money with retirement. I don't understand. Like, I don't understand it. And so I remember feeling not only like a misfit, but then when I would try to go and take a different path, this entrepreneurship route,
It's so
it
funny.
was failure, failure, failure. And I was in so much pain. And I did not like my life. I wasn't suicidal. That's not what I'm saying. Like but I did not like my life. I hated it so much. And I vividly remember going, there is no other option to succeed. But the more I try to succeed, the more pain and frustration I find myself in. What do I do? And for me, the thing that I realized was, if I wanted to get ahead in life, I needed coaching. Like, I needed somebody that knew things that I didn't know to teach me the things that I didn't know how to do.
Okay, so this is good. This is good advice.
Does that make sense? Because like,
Yeah,
I was not a natural at sales, right? People are like, oh, Josh, you're a natural people person. And I'm like, I naturally liked to talk to a lot of people. Yes. However, now that I've studied sales, being naturally good at talking to people does not mean you're a good salesperson. In fact, sometimes it's the opposite,
but it's
right?
like anything. It's recognizing that you needed the help, and you did. You said that's
Exactly.
what's smart, and that I know because, and I don't care how old you are, we go through these phases and these growth things that it's like. Sometimes I feel like that, but like I hit not that you hit a wall, but it's like I need help, and
I
it's
need
okay
help.
to say it. It's okay to say you need help. Don't act like we know everything. People act like we know everything because I hear the same thing. You know everything. I don't
Right.
know everything, and every now and then you got to say I need help.
Yes.
I need a mentor, or I need a
Yes.
coach, or I need someone to help me get to my next or football the
Yes.
next game. You know,
Yeah.
next play. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Just very interesting. What you're amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so someone asked me the other day, a friend of mine, they were like, what would you attribute your success to? And I said, if I had to summarize it down to the simplest form,
Mhm.
I would say a ridiculous amount of hard work and hiring people way smarter than I am to teach me what to do. Those things. Right.
I agree.
And keep in mind, I was a farm kid. I grew up, I don't come from money, right? I
Yeah,
don't have any
we're gonna
special
get into
talents.
I want to get into your past a little bit too. And I
Yeah.
want you to, because you're amazing. You're such
Yeah.
an
I'll finish this point and I'm happy to go wherever. But like, I don't come from money. I don't have any special talents, right?
Mhm.
I don't have a billionaire Rolodex, right? I don't come from any of that. Like, I am a standard, average, everyday, like typical kid, right?
All right. So what my
And
next question is what makes you what brought you to where you are then? What gave you that to go to where you are? What made you to be who you are? Does that make sense? I don't know
yeah,
if
for sure.
I
For
yeah,
certain,
how did you become who you are?
can I
Yeah.
finish the thought and then come back to that? Because I absolutely will answer that and
Yeah,
fits
I love it.
right in. So if I came from nothing and I find myself in this place where I'm like, I need help and I need someone smarter than me, like, then the next level for me was, I went, okay, well then who has the life that I want to live, who has the information that I
Ah,
need,
nice. Mhm.
and let me go hire them. And I will pay them whatever it is that they need to, like whatever it is that they charge. And like, once again, I didn't have the money. Like my coach, like I could not afford my coaches when I hired them. And we can get into that story later. I mean, like
Yeah,
insane
no,
level of risk that I
wow.
took on because I knew I needed it. But when you reach a level of pain in your life and a level of frustration in your life where you are like, I refuse to stay where I am at,
Mhm.
you will either find a magical talent that you didn't know you had, which that was not the case for me. Some people, I'm sure it happens,
Mhm.
or you will realize that you need guidance and you have to go and make radical changes to go and get the information that you need. And I
Mhm.
believe that the reason that most people do not achieve the success that they want in life is because even in their pain, they are comfortable. Even in their frustration, they are comfortable. And I was willing to say, I would rather be homeless under a bridge than stay in this spot where I'm at right now and have a roof over my head, but stay broke and stuck for the rest of my life. I literally would rather be homeless. And because I was in that much frustration, I was willing to go and take the actions needed.
Mhm.
And I think that is the only reason that I am at where I'm at today was I was like, I was not comfortable where I was at. And
Thank you for
people,
explaining that. Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, comfort zone is staying where you're at, right? A lot, and you're right. A lot of people will stay where they're at, or it's easier to go back, live than to move forward. A lot of
Yes.
people are scared to move forward.
Yes.
You
I would agree.
summed that up beautiful. Thank you, Josh. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great
And
job.
what was the question that you just asked then?
Well, very much kind of what that was. Like what led you to where, how did
Mm.
you get where you are? Or even, yeah, so you kind of said it there.
Like what drove me to that? Like how did I know that?
Yeah.
Listen,
Well, you just
I
said it. You kind of hit I think a low, right?
yes, yep, yep. And I'd like to acknowledge, I think that I am very aware of the blessings in my life. And I think that one of the blessings that I have had, I think everybody has their own blessings, right? Everyone has
Yeah.
their setbacks, everyone has their, roadblocks, and everyone has their blessings. I came from a family where no, we did not have a lot of money or anything like that. But my parents were together, right? They did not get divorced, right? So they were a together family. And my parents instilled into me a ridiculous work ethic,
Mm.
right? I grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere and like we just worked. That is what you did from the moment you woke up to the moment that you went to bed. I
Get
didn't
it.
know what it was like to relax. And
Mhm.
so I believe that that was such an incredible blessing to see two people not only committed to each other and to say, hey, we're both going to be in your life,
Your role
but
model.
also, I mean, I have 7 brothers and sisters, right? There's 8 of us, but
Wow.
also to say, this is what work looks like and work is a good thing
Mhm.
and not to be afraid of it. And so I think that my upbringing, my parents deserve an incredible amount of credit
Absolutely.
on instilling the work ethic and values that I have in my life, even though they didn't teach me about money, right? They just taught me how to work.
Well, it all folded in together. So that's why you
Yes.
are successful.
Yes.
Obviously, thank God for your parents for that. So moving a little bit forward, you're doing podcasts now. What made you get into podcast?
Yeah.
Because right, you were doing sales and coaching and getting now you're doing podcasts. What made you transfer or into that to start doing podcasts?
Yeah, great question. So when I got into entrepreneurship, I tried a bunch of different things and failed for a long time, but I eventually found Instagram, and that's where things started to take off. So I hit Instagram and grew. We've done 7 million followers total, but I think on Instagram it was probably like 5.5 or 6 million or so.
You had
And
5 to 6 million followers.
we grew and managed them for our clients, not
Wow.
me personally. Yeah. So
Mhm.
we figured out how to I figured out how to grow accounts, and I didn't know anything about personal branding, so I was like, "Ooh, will pay me to grow their followers for them," and people paid, right?
Wow.
And so when I got into that space, it sounds cool and the vanity metrics are great, but once again, followers don't equal dollars, vanity metrics don't pay bills, right?
Mhm.
And I mean, I was still only making, I mean, I think my take home pay was like 5 grand a month, maybe at that point. So not much. And I, once again, vividly remember being frustrated. I split ways with my business partner. We just wanted to go separate routes. There's no like big falling out or anything. It was just like, we want to go separate ways. Cool.
Yeah, you outgrew each other.
And I remember thinking, I need help if I want to go and actually learn how to make money and actually grow a successful business, but I do not have the money to go and join a $25,000 or $50,000 mastermind. And so I asked myself the question, how could I get in front of successful people that could teach me without paying for it? And I was like, well, I'm a kid from the middle of nowhere. They're not going to say yes to me, but I bet they might say yes to a podcast interview.
Yeah,
And
I
so I
get
did.
it.
I started a podcast called Think Different Theory. At the time it was called that. And the whole premise was I'm going to go document my journey to success, right? Ask life's biggest questions. And I'm going to interview successful people that I can learn from, ask them questions, and hopefully basically kind of get the advice that I need to go and learn mindset and business and all the things.
Mhm.
And so that, started that podcast. And long story short, while I was interviewing these successful people, one of the people that I interviewed by the name of Brad, we get done. And keep in mind, Brad is like very, very, very smart. Like you think, you say, oh, you're smart. No. I am like stupidly dumb compared to Brad. Brad has got 5 degrees. He's worked on Wall Street and Goldman Sachs in the tax compliance department. He's taken companies public. He has tens of millions of dollars in real estate. He has multiple different 7 and 8 figure companies. Like smart and very successful and very busy. And the only reason that he said yes to me was not because of me, but was because I had a podcast and he wanted to come talk about money. And I was like, I'll interview you. Right. And so he came on my podcast and we talked for like 2 hours. And when we got done, he goes, that was really awesome, right? Like I had a lot of fun. I like you,
Yeah,
right? This was a really cool thing. And he goes, I would be interested in hiring you to help me with some of the stuff that you do. I know you do social media. Would you go and, tell me a little bit about what you do, put together a proposal for me and send it over? And I was like, what? Like, like you want to hire me? Like what? Like what? Like the most money I'd ever made, charged before was like $5,000. And I was working, kind of with newbie. Like this was so insane to me. Right. And so I freaked out and I'm like, sure. When do you need it? And he's like, tomorrow. That's when I meet with my team. And I'm like, because at this point, I'm used to like big, long, complicated, sales funnel processes with 20 different steps and complexity and explaining everything and like all of this. And it wasn't working, right? It was like, I thought that's how I sold, but like I wasn't making any money with it, but I just thought that's what you needed to do. And so I freaked out and I asked him a couple questions and I was like, okay, I'll put something together, hang up the phone. And I literally pulled out a Google Doc or opened up a Google document and I wrote down what I learned from him. And I was like, okay, he has this problem. And basically I was like, if I send him this page, it's not going to work. And so I just thought, what would Brad need to know that I know about social media, right? That if he knew what I knew about social media, if he saw it through my lens, that he would want it. That's it. And I wrote that on the Google Doc. And I was like, I'm going to send him over this proposal. But because I am freaking out right now, I don't expect him to say yes. You know what I mean? Like you ever been where like, I got this opportunity, but I don't expect it to go anywhere, right?
Disbelief. That's not going to happen.
Right. You're exactly. And I go, but in the off chance that he says yes, I would need to cancel everything and like only focus on him because there is no way I'm going to mess this up. Right. So I'm selling stuff for $5,000 at this point. I write down the biggest number I could possibly stomach at the time. Keep in mind, like my last job before I became an entrepreneur, I made like $25,000 per year. And I wrote down on this document that it was going to be $30,000 to hire me. And I'm like, once again, not expecting him to say yes, but I send him over this document. And the next day or a couple days later, he texts back. He goes, hey, we're in. This sounds awesome. Got a couple questions, but we're in. And I'm like, there's no way. And sure enough, I have a quick call with him. And, within the week or whatever, he wired me over $30,000.
Oh my God.
And like, those moments when you're like, I do not know what just happened. I don't know what, but I got to do more of that. You know what I'm saying? Like that was that moment for me where I went, okay, wait a second. Hold on. I was just able to go and sell something for $30,000, which was literally more than I'd ever made before, more than I made in a year at my last job in one transaction by having a conversation with somebody about a topic that was not what I did. We talked about money, not marketing. Wow. And I sent over a Google Doc that was 2 pages long, 2 pages that did this without okay, I've been doing something wrong my entire life.
Oh my God.
And this is one of my favorite quotes of all time. It's probably the quote that like changed my perspective of selling, of business, of money, of all of it, which is solve the problems of the rich and they will make you one of them.
Nice. I like that.
Brad was rich.
You can put that on you can put that on a bag.
Right? Yeah, I think I saw the tweet. It was from Alex Ramosi, right? And like what I realized in that moment was the single biggest problem that I had with my offer. And I think this is the single biggest problem that most entrepreneurs have with what they're selling is actually not an offer problem. it's not a sales problem, meaning you've sold your stuff. So, you can sell it, right? And you've got an offer, like, you have something that people are buying. You've gotten a result before, but rather the biggest problem we face is inability to get in front of our ideal clients consistently. Because I was not able to get in front of rich people like Brad consistently and so therefore I was selling to broke people that did not have any money. But once I realized, wait a second, hold on, I just used a podcast, not how most people use podcasts, right? Because most people try to build a big audience and, try to sell advertising and all that. I used a podcast to create a place where I interviewed wealthy, successful people, meaning I now had a way to get in front of people that would normally not say yes to me. I could build a relationship with them, and then I could solve up their problem, and they would pay me lots of money for it. And that was the moment. It was like light bulb goes off. Okay, I've got to repeat this process. And so we scaled Think Different Theory. I mean, it grew very big, but where I made money was that process. And over the next 18 months, I think we did $1.4 million without running a single ad, selling services for $25,000 and $30,000. My largest one to date was a rev share deal, was up to $250,000. And the largest single actual thing was a 6-figure deal. A couple of them actually, by following this process. And so I love learning. I love growing. I love working with wealthy clients. I like money. I like making money and like playing in the world of entrepreneurship. And so the reason I do a podcast is because a podcast has been the tool, the mechanism that has allowed me to get in front of my ideal client and build relationships with powerful people that have either become clients, become friends, we've done deals together. Just refer each other business in a way that nothing else has.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100% on that statement. And I have my own story similar. I got into podcasts. I know you didn't ask, but I'm in real estate. And I actually got into podcast to get myself out there, to make myself different than every realtor. So ended up being, I'm getting people on the podcast. I had a listed for a commercial piece of property for almost $1 million because of the podcast.
Go.
I got her on it. She's a psychic. And she's talking.
That's the golden mic method right there.
Yeah, she's talking on the podcast, and we're talking just now on. I said, "Oh, well, I'm a realtor." So I pulled out my realtor hat on, took the listed, and made more money. But yes, I find the podcast are a great way to connect with new clients or just bring in. It's a funnel. I agree with you.
And just powerful people and relationships in general, right? And I think that's I think that if we can rethink sales and we can rethink what we're doing as entrepreneurs. One of the things I say a lot is I don't sell anything. I just solve problems. Right. And if you solve the problems of the broke, they will keep you broke. And if you solve the problems of the rich, they will make you rich. So using a podcast to build relationships with successful people and then finding out what their problems are, offering to go and solve those problems and then getting paid to solve them.
Love it. Yeah.
I'm not promising anything, but I've made multiple 7 figures doing that process. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it. Wow, that's amazing. What an amazing story. Yeah. My goodness, Josh. What else can we talk about though? What can we talk? Well, what else can we cover here? Well, can we bring up the Apple story?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just talk like we're sitting in the room. No, let's just, whenever you want to talk, let's just talk. Because I did a little bit of homework on it. I'm amazed. That's why I wanted to do my podcast. You have a lot to say, but tell us a little bit about that story about Apple. What happened with that?
Yeah. It's interesting. So the story goes at a podcast called Think Different Theory, right? And we grew that to about 1.5 million downloads, all organically. And we went and we got so big that we went to go get a trademark for Think Different Theory, and Apple owns the trademark to Think Different, and so they not only stopped the lawsuit, stopped the trademark, but they made us shut down the entire podcast. And if we didn't, basically, we were going to be sued and go to court. And my lawyer was like, "Hey, you can try to fight this in court, and you will lose because it's Apple." And so, it's crazy because Apple has so much power that when we went and filed the trademark, it got all the way down to the last week, and they're like, "In 7 days, it's approved." And then with 3 days left or whatever, Apple stepped in and was like, hold up. We want an extension. And so the trademark attorney office gave an extension. And then we got down to the last week or whatever again. They still didn't do anything. And then they're like, hold up. We want an extension. And they were getting an extension, of course, because they're Apple. And then they came back and were like, hey, this, you can't, we can't do this. We object, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how the process works. My attorney guy did it, right? The
Yeah, yeah,
trademark guy.
gotcha.
But it was interesting because, Think Different Theory, this podcast, like that was a core piece of me, of my identity, of like who I was, right? Like everything that I did was through the lens of Think Different Theory. It was to grow Think Different Theory. My business was Think Different Theory. The interviews, like all the conversations I had, all of it was to build this brand, this identity of Think Different Theory. And so when that happened, it was almost like I didn't actually believe that that was going to happen,
Mm.
right? Like I didn't actually believe that it was like that. But sure enough, like we had to shut it down. And when it did, it's like I didn't know what was next. Like I didn't know, like there's no clarity in my life. I didn't know who I was anymore, right? Because
Mm.
I was the podcast, like that was me.
Yeah.
And I think that it's fun to come on podcasts where I think a lot of people come on and they share, oh, I'm so great with this, and or here are all the accomplishments I've done or whatever. But I'm like, okay, this is 1 hour in a day, and there's 20, 30 years of my life. Like you get to hear a couple of highlight reels, right? Most of entrepreneurship is just hard work or setbacks or failure or, just things that you got to figure out. And so after shutting that down, it took probably 18 months or
Okay.
so before
So it
I
really
before
affected
I
you.
came
Shut
back,
that.
right? I really went and I had to reset life and fix my life and principles. I mean, I rededicated my life to Christ. I got married. A lot of these things happened. And this process of, I mean, literally I thought there's no possible way this could have been used for good, right? Like there's no way that this was a good thing.
Well, you can
Um,
turn around, I think it was, just from what you just told me. It gave you a
right,
chance to connect with Christ. It gave you your family. I mean,
yeah.
you could look
And
at it that way.
uh,
Now you're stronger, right?
yep.
I mean, I'm always one of these, I always look at the bright side.
No, you're absolutely right. And
Yeah, now
my,
you're a
my,
stronger
my
person.
point with that though, is that exactly, which is,
Yeah.
I think that oftentimes we as entrepreneurs, we like to, I've been probably people in general, we
Mhm.
like to look at things and go, this is good or this is bad, right? And if you've ever heard the story or the analogy of, or I think, yeah, the story of the guy with the guy with the son, and it's like, the guy goes and he has the son. It's like, oh, you're so lucky you have a son, and it's like maybe. And then the guy goes and the son breaks his leg, and it's like, oh, that so sucks, like right, like your son broke his leg, that's such a
Yeah.
bad thing. And he's like, well, maybe. And then a week later they call the draft, and every able-bodied young person, right, was called to
Yeah.
go to the draft. But because he had a broken leg, he didn't have to go to the draft. And it was like, oh, that's a good thing. And he's like, well, maybe, right? And like the
Yeah.
point is that
Yeah, I
like
know. Yeah.
it's not good or bad. It's just it's what happens, and it's how we respond to it that actually matters. And so that was a big learning lesson for me. And to not be attached, to not attach my identity in my business, even though my identity, like I am an entrepreneur and that's like what I do, and I sell an identity in a way, right? But like I have to find my identity outside of that. And then my business is this amplification of the thing that, that I get to, do, but it's not, I am not my business. My business is not me. And I think when I actually grasped that and understood that and went through that process, understanding that the two were indeed separate
Mhm.
was what helped me overcome a lot of insecurities, a lot of self-worth issues, a lot of fear, a lot of things, to be like, you know what? Here's the thing, like, take away my money, take away the business, take away whatever, like whatever. Like there's stuff, it's just things. And don't get me wrong, I love business, and having money is awesome, right? The life that you can buy when you got some money is incredible. And absolutely it beats being poor. 100%. I can't imagine why anyone would think otherwise. But also, that's not what defines me, right? Like you can take away the money, you can take away the success, and I'm still me, and I'm going to operate and act how I know I should operate and act. And that for me is when I found freedom, right? Like when I rededicated my life to Christ and said, Jesus, like I am yours, and I'm
It's
going
almost
to
like
act
a
the way you
test.
called me to be.
You were
That's
tested.
when I became free.
You were tested. Yeah.
Yeah, big time for
And you,
sure.
yeah, you succeeded. Totally. I mean, I believe in a lot of that same stuff because I think we all had our own stories, our own journeys. But yeah, so this is so now you have to build yourself back up. So that, I mean, and you were probably able to do it much easier with your wife, your
Mhm.
baby, and now you're like you're ready to go again
Yeah,
because now you're even stronger than what you were before,
yeah,
I think, right?
I would agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, building something where my wife gets to see me build it and have her support and her
Yeah.
perspective on things is, I mean, life changing, right? And I'm very blessed. My wife is incredible. I mean, she's way
Uh,
smarter than I am, right? Like she's very smart. When she was 25, She was the general manager of a sports bar. I think she managed like 70 or 80 employees, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like she was like, I mean,
Well, that's why you're together. It's good.
right.
You need that. You
But
need
it's
balance. You need that.
right. And but we're very different in a lot of ways, right? And like, I've been very blessed in the sense that my wife just, she wants to be a mom, right? And like, that's what she's always wanted to do. Ever since we've gotten married, she's like, I want to be a mom and I want to go. And now we have our daughter.
Yeah.
And she still, I mean, she works not because she has to, but like she teaches
I
yoga
know
and she's
it's
really
good to
big
have
into
your
all
own
that. And
life. It's good to.
like, I support her there, but like, I get to watch and I get to learn so much from like watching her be a mom and watching her live her life and how she makes decisions and systems and whatever. And like having someone there that like thinks completely differently than I do, but
Mhm.
we're both aligned on the goal and what we believe provides such perspective that I think that, the average person doesn't get, or at least if they do have a spouse, they don't take advantage of, right? Like I'll ask people about, oh, my wife this, or, oh, my husband. I'm like, that is your greatest gift. Why are
Yeah,
you, so
I agree, and I
yeah,
don't
I
like that.
love
I don't
marriage.
like.
I love my wife, love
Yeah, I don't like
family.
that.
Yes,
Yeah, I don't like it. But you were raised well. You were raised well. Your parents taught you, or you were raised in a good environment,
yes.
and that's what you learn from. And hey, people can be raised that way and turn the opposite way. So you did it. Everything seems to be in the growing in the perfect direction for you, Josh. This is good stuff.
I,
Uh,
perfect is a myth, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
I So, what does your future hold? Say for you explained a little bit in the beginning, but now are you going with all this? Where do you want to
yeah.
end up? So,
It's one of my favorite questions. Love that.
well, I don't know if it was one of those. I can do it.
No, yeah, it really is because
Uh,
I
we always look
think
at the
I
future.
think people are pessimistic about the future, generally speaking, and in the current state of the world today, it's easy to be like, oh, the future, right? Politics is a no. So once again, I my whole life I've just wanted to be free, right? Just freedom. How do I be
That's
free?
it.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's all. I'm like, I don't want to be like every decision we made was, oh, we don't have the money or we don't have the time or we can't do this or I was like, I just want to be free. And so when I look into the future, I go, I believe that I've been very blessed in a lot of ways, and I have achieved a level of freedom in my life that I don't think most have ever been able to experience, at least not of the people that I have met. Not
Wow.
because of the most money, but rather just the freedom in Christ, the freedom in my marriage, the freedom in with finances, right? And location and so many different things. And so for me, like part of freedom, there's this, I call it the freedom paradox. In fact, I was going
Yeah.
to call my podcast that for a minute, right? Was
Oh
the
wow, wow,
freedom
wow.
paradox, right? And it's this paradox that's like, if you want freedom, you must also have immense discipline and sacrifice. For
Mhm.
example, if I were to give you, $1 million, right? If you are not disciplined with that $1 million, you could blow it tomorrow,
Right.
right? So if
Exactly.
I want to have the freedom to go and make decisions and be good with money, like have wealth, I must be disciplined on a daily level with my money, right? If I want
Correct.
to have the freedom to go and grow my business, I must be very disciplined with systems, right? And so there's this concept of like the yin and yang of life, if you will.
Right.
And so I the future is I want to create a system, a path, an actual way that specifically I serve entrepreneurs. So, that entrepreneurs, producers of society today can go and say, for those out there that are like, yeah, money's awesome. And yeah, fame or impact, all those things, they're great. And we want all those things. But I want to be more than anything, I want to be free, right? Like, how do I become free? Is
Mhm.
to create a path that entrepreneurs and producers can follow to go and do that. And I want to have I've sacrificed in many areas of my life to go and build this. And that's what the Golden Mike method is we're building a system that is not for everyone. It's not for people that want to have the biggest company or all the things. But if you want to have freedom, that one can follow to say, okay, I like I'm going to follow a path that is specifically designed for that. And I do not believe that people understand that, like, if you do not have the ability to produce economically, because we are in an economic society, like, you can't have freedom, right? Like, I can't have freedom in my health. Like, I hire a personal trainer. I pay him a good amount of money every
Mhm.
single month to show up at the gym and meet me every morning. I
Mhm.
have people cook my meals, or I do have a meal plan that gets those shipped. I hire a nanny so that I can have that. I couldn't do that without money, right? I have studied religion and invested in my marriage and gone on, like all of those things. I couldn't do that unless I had time, which requires money, or money
Exactly.
to pay for them.
I
And
agree.
so we're building, the future looks like for the next, I don't know, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, I have no idea how long, is to create a mechanism and a vehicle where I will be the living proof of it. I will live it out, right? Because I want
Yeah,
that anything to
it's your
say,
dream.
hey,
Your
this
dream.
is a model that will allow you to produce financial freedom so that you can go and be the person that God has called you to be the husband or the wife, to be the father or the mother, to be the, the brother, the
Your
sister, the son, the
calling.
daughter,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever, the leader, and to take care of your health, to pursue what you believe to be good and truth, what truth is, and have that freedom created in your life. Because I don't know about you, and I love work. It's one of my favorite things to do. But also, I love going to church. And also, I love going to date night every single Friday night at 5 o'clock with my wife for 2 years straight without missing a week. And I love of things that freedom gets me. And
Yeah.
so the future is, how do we build a platform, or how do we build a system? And that's the Golden Mike method. And so the Golden Mike podcast is our platform to document and interview, people, to learn, to create a place where the conversation happens and open up opportunities for that. And then the Golden Mike method is the framework and the system that we're building for entrepreneurs to be able to plug into and follow. And step one, create financial freedom in their life and in their business. And that's really, and that's really what the immediate future looks like for me,
Yeah. No, it's a
along
great
with being a
vision.
good dad and a good husband.
A great plan. It's a great plan. So once again, I may have said at the beginning, if somebody on your podcast, if they want to come on the podcast, do they contact you and then you talk to them on the podcast and you explain where do you go from here? So if somebody wants to sign on to what you got going on here, this night
Yeah,
program, I'm making my own notes, Josh. Okay,
yeah, for sure. So,
I want to come on I want to come on your program.
yeah. So, as you grow through different levels, you adjust it and tweak things, right? And so, in our services that we offer, obviously we offer services to high level people. Um, a lot of people want to come on the podcast.
They what?
So process for actually coming on the podcast would be, yeah, you could send us an email, or on our website. I think there's a link. It might not be. It might just be an email. You can send an email to either assistant@joshforti.com
Okay.
or josh@joshforti.com, and we can send you an application for that. And that's for the podcast. And we have the studio. You can kind of see it behind me. We have an in-person studio, so we do a lot of them in
Yep.
person now.
Nice. Yep.
We're starting to do that. We do virtual as well. And then, if you wanted to actually learn the method, or you want coaching, or you want to come in and learn with me, I only have one program. We have 2 levels, depending upon where you're at. But like, I am incredibly involved, right? I am not one of those coaches that's like, oh, you buy in, here's some videos, go watch. Like, I am in there every single day. I know every single one of my clients. I am involved every single day with that. And so once again, we live out what we preach, which is, I don't have a site where you could just go buy my program right now, because we don't accept anybody in that I'm not sure that we can help. And
Exactly.
so we have an
That's what I was
application
trying to hear.
process. Once again, you can send us an email. You can hit me up on Instagram or on Facebook, or you can go to joshforti.com, and learn all about what that, the process of that looks like. But we sit down, we'll have a conversation, we'll get to know you a little bit, and then we can go from there, because we're not $50, right? We're pretty expensive,
Of
but we're
course,
also the
hopefully
best.
you're not
Yeah.
$50, but what they do is that's a process. And do they come to where you are? Obviously, you have a studio. They fly out to you, or
If you are on the podcast, we either do the podcast interviews virtually, or
yeah, kind of like what I was doing.
we do that. For the coaching, we have we do those things virtually. So we have coaching calls and stuff. We have a community, and stuff like that.
Okay.
But then we have events throughout the year. Some of them are, I have private clients out at my house. Like I said, there's 2 levels. So if you're a private client, like,
Yeah,
they come
great.
out, we'll have you on the podcast. And we bring people out to that. Sometimes we do actual events where everyone's allowed to come out, and we rent like a place, and we
Nice.
do 2-day events. So we do a lot of, we're very interactive with our students and clients. Like, every single person that in my program has had a one-on-one call with me, like, knows me, I know them. Like, we're very, very interactive with
Well,
it,
like you
because we
said,
want
it's the
people to win.
quality. The quality. You're giving
Yeah.
them good quality,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
it's your personal attention. It's
Yeah.
you. I'm sure you got a great team. So yeah,
Yes.
it sounds great, Josh. Good job.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. But I think the thing that I would leave people with this is, listen, I'd love for you to be a client. I'm a business. I want to help people, right? I want to solve problems. I want to get paid, and I want you to get paid as well. That said, if you're sitting there and you're like, where do I start? Or like, what's the process of all of this? Right? Like, how do I even know if I'm ready? Or like, I, I would implore you to say the starting point for you is to say you need to find a skill that provides value to the world that people are willing to pay for.
Perfect.
Like that's step one. And like we won't let anybody in the program that doesn't have that, right? But it's like if you can identify to say, okay, listen, I know how to solve a problem that someone has that people are willing to pay for. I know how to build a funnel. I know how to run ads. I know how to do graphic design. I know how to build websites. I know how to whatever. I know how to edit podcasts. I know how to grow social media accounts. Whatever the thing is. And then you go and you're like, I have this skill that I know. Now you become valuable to the marketplace. And like, that's the starting point. And then you go, okay, cool. Now the next step is to go and sell that thing. Like go get a client, go get someone, go produce a result with it to make sure that it's validated, to make sure that your skill, you can actually produce the result.
And I think that's what makes you unique, Josh, because people are coming to you with their skill and what they want to sell or market or
yes,
work with. So there's no false expectations. How many businesses will say, "Oh, come with us. You can make millions of dollars. I'm going to make $50 billion." And they expect people to come in with nothing and that they're going to serve them, and they're not. So you already cut out the main.
And my goal is to provide value to help people to go and that are not there yet to go and learn that. But I think that there is a market of those people.
Like a football game. They got the ball in their hand, they're tossing it to you, and you're going to help them go further with the ball.
There we go.
That's I could compare that. Great. Yeah.
Yeah. And then step 3, and I think this is important too, is I think that a lot of people hire coaches without knowing whether or not it's a good coach or not. And I think the thing that has allowed me to, I think I've probably hired maybe one or two bad coaches, but most of the coaches that I've hired have been great coaching. And it's because the lens would be, if I've got a skill that I can trade to the marketplace for value, right? I can provide actual value to the marketplace. I can get someone a result,
right?
And I've done it. Then go find the coach that has the life that you want, and that
good advice
has the values that you have. And if you can do that, if they have the values that you have, meaning like they're part of the reason I'm such good friends with Russell Brunson. I'm like personal friends with him now at this point. But part of the reason I followed him so closely is I'm like, we have very similar values. We value family and faith and honesty and integrity, right? And also then, like, because of that, I'm going to go follow him. So I would say find a coach that shares your values and that has the life that you want to live, and then pay them whatever they want and do everything that they tell you to do. And so if I'm that person, if you look at, going like, hey, I want to have a wildly profitable business with a very lean team, getting paid, great dollars to solve people's problems that have lots of money, right? So that they can afford to pay me and optimize for a life of freedom, then chances are that I might be your guy, right? And, you value integrity and, telling the truth,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
But if not, if you're like, no, I want flashy Lamborghinis, or I want to build $100 million company, or cool, then I'm not your person. Take the principles that I've shared, and I hope you can use them. Then go find someone that is and hire them, right? And I think that will get you farther in life than anything else.
Yeah, I agree. But half the battle was getting people, say, to come in the group that have something to have value, to have their own, what they want to sell. And I need help. That's what you want to deal with. And that's why I said the product, your program seems phenomenal. It's like you got that together because you're bringing people in that also are somewhat, you're going to say, on the same level as you are. They're just reaching up to you to help them get further.
Yeah.
In other words,
I know what it was like. I know what it was like to not too long ago be like, man, every grocery I put in the grocery cart, I'm like, oh, I wonder if I have the money to pay for this. To where now it's like, I haven't looked at the price of the groceries or the gas. Like I couldn't even, like, what? Like, I don't have time for, like, just here we go. We're getting it. Like, I know that transformation. I understand that transformation. And I think that a lot of people feel like that is completely out of reach, when in reality, it's like you need one good strategy and a couple of skills and you're there. And that's what I show people how to do.
Yeah. Great. Wow. Josh, I have to say, it was great having you on today. Is there anything else you'd like to, is there a website? I think we kind of,
joshforti.com. You can go there. I'm big on social media. My website's it's like one page. It's got some links on it. I mean, I'm not big on a website thing. I'm big relationships. So I love social media. Check out the podcast, The Golden Mic, Apple, Spotify. And then my social media, it's all, Josh Forti on Facebook, Josh Forti on Instagram, Josh Forti on YouTube. All of our content is posted there. I'm pretty interactive, like I said, on Facebook and then Instagram DMs. Both of those, I'm pretty interactive there. So check us out there. And my final advice to you is just, or my final, piece of, I don't know, final thing I would say is this:
Yeah, it's great.
you can be free. You
Yeah.
can be free. And I don't think most people realize that they can. I think that most people have been told the lie their entire life that's not how it works, that you have to struggle, that you have to work your entire life, or that like that's just how things are. And it's like, no, you can be free. Not some BS, live life on the beach, like, oh, I'm rich type. Not that free. That's not free. I mean, you can be free in every single area. You can experience what that is like, and you can do that if you commit to actually going and doing that. And so understanding that, I know what it is like to feel so ridiculously trapped, and I know what it is like to feel free, and you can be free.
And I think many people could relate to you with that. I think that's, you weren't born with the gold, the golden spoon or whatever you want to say. You may
Yeah.
be golden Mike, but you
I
weren't
wasn't born with
born
a golden
with the
spoon, but
golden
now I got a golden
spoon.
mic. I like that. That's good. That's good.
You weren't born with that. But anyway, Josh, don't go too far. But I want to just thank you again for coming onto this podcast, A Story Time with Ellie. And here we are today with Josh Forti and with the golden mic. We will catch up. Thanks again, Josh.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.